Well, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to come to this great county and be here with your sheriff, Mr. Dean Wilson. I'm Larry Jones from Glenn County. It took me about a 5-hour drive to come across here. I went to the police academy in College of the Redwoods, so I've made that drive over 299 many times for training, so it was like coming back home. I've been around Sheriff Wilson now for over 10 years at our California State Sheriff's Association meetings and in various other meetings, our North State Sheriff's meetings. And I know him to be a very passionate individual with great common sense and leadership skills. I've listened to him speak now for over 10 years at various meetings, as I said, and he represents Norte County and you, the citizens of this county, in great fine fashion, and you should be very proud of him. The office of sheriff is just that. It is the office of sheriff. The sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer of the county and the chief executive officer of the county. And citizens must choose very wisely when they select their sheriff. Because as you just heard Sheriff Lopey and your sheriff, and as you will continue to hear, the burdens upon our offices are many and they are diverse. None of us in our various law enforcement training were ever briefed and or skilled on some of the issues that we now face and that we must deal with at our levels. But as Sheriff Lopey so eloquently stated, we do represent you, the people, and it is our job, it is our mandate to see that you and your rights and your way of life are maintained at the highest possible levels. And that's what a sheriff is faced with. In Glenn County, we have many of the same issues that you will hear today. We all share them here in the North State. As a side note, I just called back to my office to check and see how we were doing in our county, and my dispatcher was very busy with 911 calls. She had power lines down, and she said a bear was running around the Walmart parking lot in Willows down in the valley. I thought I'd see the bears up here and not down in my area, but apparently we're dealing one right at the moment. I'm also the chief animal control officer of the county, so we're going to get the Fish and Wildlife to give us a hand with that one.
Do you eat them down there?
Yes, they do. We've got the bear population is quite exploded there. So we'll be glad to take your questions. I'm sure we'll have a Q&A period, but to give you an overbrief of Glenn County and some of the things we're dealing with, obviously AB109, Assembly Bill 109, greatest paradigm shift in law enforcement that I've ever seen. And I've been with my agency for 40 years. I'm in my 40th year, actually pushing 41. I've been the sheriff for 10 years. And dealing with AB 109 and all the ramifications that have come with this program have definitely been a challenge. We can't turn our back with it, on it. It is here. It's been here. And we have to deal with it. We have to deal with it in a positive manner. And we have to really think outside the box, if you like that term. General Patton said, if everybody thinks the same, then nobody's thinking. So all of us have to deal with this in various ways in our various jurisdictions. Currently, AB 109 inmates occupy 30% of my jail population. We're just a little bit smaller than your county here. We're rated for 144 beds. I actually have 148. And right now we're pushing our functional capacity. Each jail has a functional capacity. How many inmates you can really house in that facility with classification, sentence, first unsentenced, those that must be housed in protective custody, those that must be housed in administrative segregation for whatever reason, those that have mental issues. And believe me, that can be a whole other topic of the impacts that we have in our county jails with those individuals that are in our jails that that should be in some type of a mental health institution somewhere in the state. We're having to deal with them. I have one safety cell in my jail, and oftentimes we could have up to 5 or 7 individuals that need to be put in a safety cell, and that is a tremendous liability on the county sheriff and the county as a whole. We've developed many programs within our small county, working with our partners in the county to deal with AB109. We've recently instituted the Success One program, wherein inmates that qualify can receive their high school diploma, not just a GED. And we've had several of our inmates just graduate from that program. Now we're working with our local community college, Butte College, which serves the Butte and Glenn County regions, so those inmates can be allowed the possibility of getting an Associate of Arts degree or an Associate of Science degree. We're mandated to try and find a way to reduce the recidivism of the criminal element in our various jurisdictions, whereby we give the skill sets necessary to individuals that can achieve them and change their lifestyles where they're not going to end up in our county jails and impact us the way we do. We currently have one individual in Oakland working with the Salvation Army there, and I have 2 in Lodi at a culinary school, believe it or not. And hopefully they'll come out of that and be able to gain successful employment there. We've worked with our Office of Education and our County Superintendent of Schools to institute these educational programs within our facility, and we hope that they are going to be as successful as they're starting to be, and we see that reduction in crime. But it's something that we have to stay attuned to constantly. Marijuana. Regardless of how you feel about marijuana, it is a huge issue. And the cartels that are driving the marijuana plantations on our public lands that are there for your recreational purposes. The beauty of our public lands here in the state of California are absolutely being raped and have been raped for many years by these individuals coming, mostly from Mexico, to utilize them to grow the illegal agricultural commodity of marijuana. Our last marijuana raid, we took out 1,700 pounds of trash. That didn't include the pesticides, the rodenticides, the chemicals that are being used to pollute the land, to get into our streams and make its way into our rivers, our estuaries, and down into the agricultural lands. We just arrested 9 individuals in this grove. They're all from out of the United States of America. They're international travelers, as I refer to them. And they've been brought into this area to cultivate marijuana and ship it out at the high dollar rate. Right now we're probably low, but $2,000 to $2,500 a pound of processed marijuana is coming out of these grows. And you do the math, you do the numbers. It is huge, huge profit. And these individuals were armed, and it takes a tremendous amount of effort and resources, and we're not getting enough from our federal government to assist us in these enforcement on your on your public lands and your national forests. The so-called medical marijuana, the Compassionate Use Act, has been absolutely something that you can't even recognize from the original intent of that law. We just overflew our county. The amount of illegal grows in the backyards around our county, drawing on our water resources, is horrendous. And I do not have the manpower to deal with this, nor does the DA's office have the time to deal with it, but we must. We're supposed to have a 10 by 10 foot grow if they can, the proper 215 card. We have some in their backyards that are 100 by 100, 200 by 200, and they are commercial marijuana grows, utilizing the guise of that Prop 215 card to try and get away with an illegal cultivation operation and sell that marijuana at a large profit. Impacts our schools, our children, and the safety of our communities, because people come from out of the area and do all types of crime because of the marijuana. We just had a marijuana grower report that he was just ripped off by a patch pirate, as we refer to them, and he wants us to go out and find the bad guy that stole his marijuana. We'll do our due diligence, we'll attempt to do so, but it impacts our agency in a greatly adverse way, as it does all the others. We're dealing with huge water issues. We've recently formed a drought task force in Glenn County, which I chair. I'm also the director of the Office of Emergency Services there, and it's incumbent on us to gather the data that is necessary to get it up to the state level, to California OES, Operations of Emergency Services at the state level, so they can get a good picture on what's going on in the state of California. We currently have over 30 domestic wells that have gone dry, and our agricultural base there in Glenn County is over a $700 million business this past year, and our walnut orchards, our almond orchards, olive orchards, our rice ground, all our agriculturists are greatly concerned about the water issues, and we have not dealt with them in a positive manner here in the state of California. And if we go into next spring without, hopefully, and I pray to God that we get a great wet winter to deal with this, we're going to be in drastic trouble. And that's some of the issues there. Budget, huge issue that you'll hear everybody deal with. When I became sheriff, I had a $13 million budget. I have an $8.7 million budget right now. I've lost manpower. I'm lucky to have 2 deputies on shift at a time. That's our minimum. We just do not have the revenues that are coming into the county to adequately support law enforcement. Our district attorney was cut back. We do not even have district attorney investigators currently in our office, and have not now for almost 7 years. And that investigative power is obviously trickles back down to our detectives that have to do more and more work than a DA's investigator would have normally done. One of my great concerns right now is Proposition 47. And it would bring about great changes to the way we do business. So I'm just going to hit some of the key points on it and turn this over to my fellow sheriffs here. Proposition 47 will reduce the number of property and drug crimes from felonies to straight misdemeanors, unless the defendant has one of a handful of very specific, serious, and violent priors. Proposition 47 will be retroactive. It will allow anyone currently serving or who has completed a felony sentence for one of the measures listed offenses to petition for resentencing or reclassification of his or her conviction as a misdemeanor. It is estimated that this provision could apply to as many as 10,000 current state inmates. What that's going to do to us, it's in the speculative process right now. I am really not sure. And the related issues of Proposition 57, the theft of a firearm. This would eliminate automatic felony prosecution for stealing a firearm. It would reduce it to a misdemeanor if that weapon is valued at $950 or less. Criminals with guns. Proposition 47 also allows more dangerous criminals to legally own guns. Felony convictions carry a lifetime prohibition from owning a firearm. If your felony conviction falls in this category and it's reduced back to a misdemeanor, guess what? You get to go down and purchase a firearm, or attempt to do so. The impacts on counties: by reducing felonies to misdemeanors, the measure will severely impact our county jail populations by shifting dangerous offenders from the state prison back down to the counties to deal with them. Once again, the sheriff's now faced with another issue if this is to go through. Drug possession. Possession of a wide variety of controlled substances such as cocaine, heroin, it would be reduced to misdemeanor crime, not felony. Burglary. Under Proposition 47, entering a commercial establishment during business hours with the intent to commit larceny of property not exceeding $950 would be shoplifting, misdemeanor. Great concern of mine, our agricultural crime. Proposition 47 would eliminate felony prosecution for agricultural crimes in this manner. Currently, theft of crops, walnuts, this type of thing, with a value of $250 or more is grand theft. Proposition 47 would make petty theft unless the value exceeds $950. Likewise, the theft of livestock would be the same type of thing. You have a horse right now, it would be grand theft. If the animal is valued less than $950 under Proposition 47, it would be reduced to a misdemeanor. You need to really pay attention to this. Contact your local leaders in the legislature, and tell them you don't support this. It's bad law, it's bad timing. Proposition 47, we really need to pay attention to it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Downey. I'm the Sheriff of Humboldt County. I'm really honored to be here. And I'm telling you, what a beautiful drive coming up this morning. You know, Del Norte, Humboldt County, I think we're the most beautiful counties in the state, right? We have an ocean. You know, years ago, I tried to get my wife to move to Nebraska, of all places. She says, I can never leave the ocean. We were out walking on the beach the other day, and I said, you know, I'm glad you drove that notion out of my head, because I'd have trouble getting away from the ocean, too. I've been with the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office for 30 years, raised my family there. I've got 6 kids, 9 grandchildren, and counting. And you know, we've made a home there. We really appreciate where we live and what we have. You know, Humboldt County is as diverse as many of the other counties in California. It's about 3,700 square miles. One of the differences with Humboldt, in comparison to many other counties in Northern California, is we have a greater abundance of privately held land and not as much public land as many of the other sheriffs sitting here today do, and which adds other burdens on us that it just increases our population of Humboldt County is about 135,000. My budget has stayed pretty level, pretty steady. It's about 29 million, but it has not gone up in probably 5-6 years, but it has stayed stable. So I'm very thankful that we've been able to do that. The problem is our operating costs have gone through the roof, and I think we've already shared that here. I'm down 13 deputy sheriffs, 16 correctional officers. I went from a staff of about 275 10 years ago down to about 230, 235. But our jail population has gone up. So that's special. My rated jail population is about 420 inmates through an